They say money can buy almost anything. But in the early hours of April 15th, 1912, when the Titanic slipped beneath the freezing waters of the North Atlantic, money could not buy survival. In fact, some of the richest and most powerful men in the world went down with the ship. Their fortunes and their influence were powerless against physics, human error, and the arrogance of an age that believed progress had conquered nature. They had wealth that could move markets, shape governments, and finance empires. Yet in those few desperate hours, what mattered was not gold, nor stocks, nor estates, but space in a lifeboat. And most of them never got one. The Titanic disaster has been told so many times that we think we know it. An iceberg, an unsinkable ship, a tragic loss of life. But what makes this story more than a maritime tragedy is the financial dimension. The men who died on that ship were not just passengers. They were the custodians of immense capital, the financiers of railroads, steel, banking, and international trade. Their deaths were not just personal losses. They represented the collapse of dynasties, the sudden transfer of wealth, and the reshaping of financial systems in Britain and America at a time when money and power were tightly interwoven. Let's begin with John Jacob Astor IV. At 47 years old, Astor was one of the wealthiest men alive. His fortune derived from real estate, hotels, and inheritance from America's legendary Astor dynasty was estimated at more than $87 million in 1912. Adjusted for inflation, that translates to billions today, a sum that could buy entire corporations outright. He had financed libraries, hotels, and grand mansions. He had married a young socialite, Madeline Force, just months before the voyage, causing scandal because she was nearly 30 years younger. The Titanic was their honeymoon trip home. Astor could have tried to force his way into a lifeboat. Many wealthy men did not hesitate, but eyewitnesses recalled him helping his wife into one and then stepping back, resigned. He asked if he could join her because she was pregnant. The crew refused. Wealth, power, status, none of it mattered in that moment. He was last seen smoking a cigarette on the deck moments before the ocean claimed him. His fortune passed to his unborn child. His death was more than personal tragedy. It was the abrupt transfer of one of America's largest estates. Then there was Benjamin Guggenheim, heir to the Guggenheim mining fortune. A playboy, a man of immense indulgence. He was traveling with his mistress, Leontine Aubert. When the collision came, Guggenheim initially tried to take it lightly. But as the reality of the sinking became clear, he made a decision that has since passed into legend. He changed into evening clothes and reportedly told a steward, "We've dressed up in our best and are prepared to go down like gentlemen." His mistress survived in a lifeboat. He did not. Another powerful figure aboard was Isidor Straus, co-owner of Macy's department store in New York. Straus was not just wealthy. He was influential, a former congressman, a philanthropist, a public figure. He and his wife Ida were offered seats on lifeboats. She refused. "We have lived together for many years," she said. "And where you go, I go." They died side by side on the Titanic. The Strauss fortune survived, passed on to their heirs, but the symbolism was profound. The roster goes on. George Widener, heir to a Philadelphia transit fortune, perished. Harry Elkins Widener, his bibliophile son, drowned with him. Their loss altered the trajectory of one of America's great families, redirecting fortunes, reshaping trusts, and even resulting in the construction of Harvard's Widener Library. A monument born of tragedy. Thomas Andrews, the ship's designer, perished, leaving behind questions of hubris and negligence. But in terms of raw wealth, it was the deaths of men like Astor, Guggenheim, Strauss, and Widener that truly shook society. To understand the Titanic fully, you must place it in its economic history. The year 1912 sat on the edge of cataclysm. The world was basking in the illusion of stability. The British Empire dominated trade. America was rising as an industrial giant, and the wealthy elite lived in a bubble of opulence. Their palaces in Newport, Rhode Island, their estates in London, their private rail cars, they embodied an age historians call the Gilded Age. The ship itself was a monument to this mindset. It was marketed as unsinkable. Its first-class accommodations were palaces afloat, suites designed for men like Astor and Guggenheim. Tickets for the most luxurious cabins cost the equivalent of tens of thousands of dollars today. These men were not simply traveling. They were demonstrating status, wealth, and the power of capital. And yet, when the iceberg ripped the hull open, the financial system of privilege collapsed into cold mathematics. There were only enough lifeboats for about half the passengers. No amount of influence could change that equation. When the Titanic sank, it was not only bodies that disappeared beneath the water, but also the stability of financial empires. Inheritance law was tested in unprecedented ways as widows, children, and trusts became the custodians of unimaginable wealth. In a sense, the Titanic was not just the end of lives. It was the forced redistribution of some of the largest fortunes in the world. And yet, beyond the families, the Titanic revealed something more fundamental about the financial system. It showed that wealth has limits, that privilege can be rendered meaningless by physical reality. First-class passengers had higher survival rates than third-class. Money did buy better access to lifeboats. But even among the rich, death was not avoidable. The richest man on the ship drowned alongside the poorest immigrant. Money and power created probabilities, not certainties. Now, think about what this means for us today. The Titanic sailed in 1912, but its story mirrors the fragility of our financial world. The ship was marketed as unsinkable, just as markets are often treated as invincible. Investors in 2008 were told that housing prices could never fall. Crypto advocates in 2021 insisted Bitcoin could never crash. Each time, society believed the system had transcended risk. Each time, reality proved otherwise. The iceberg always comes. History does not repeat, but it does echo. If this gave you a new perspective, hit subscribe. History has the answers, and I'll show you where to look.